Hello, and welcome back to Sarah's Joyful Journey. I'm Sarah Joy, and this is episode 47 of Tea Tuesday. All right, let's go make our tea. I got a new teapot and I got a new teacup, and I'm so excited to give them a try. So let's get our tea, and then we'll come back and spill the tea on everything that's been going on the past week in my life. All right, so let's get our tea started. We're going to try some new stuff that I got. I saw this teapot on Amazon and fell in love with the mint green and the pink roses because, pink china is a thing for me. We should know this by now. This is a porcelain teapot, which my understanding is porcelain is a little bit different than bone china. Very similar, but slightly different. This is by Gracie. It was like $25, so not an expensive teapot. And then yesterday when we went to Epcot, we got this cherry blossom one from the Japan pavilion, and it is also made in Japan. So yeah, and then we're gonna have it today with birthday cake tea because I am working on trying to get some of my collection down to teas that are my favorites. So let's get our tea started. So here is my unbirthday cake in my cherry blossom mug. I do like the little ridges on here. It's pretty cool. So, and I'll give you a closer up of the actual teapot. Give me a second to carefully set the teacup down so I don't spill it. But here's the teapot. It's so cute. But yeah, I just wanted a new teapot. I found some on Facebook Marketplace that were Royal Albert. They were well priced. I just didn't have the budget. I could afford to spend $25 on a teapot, so that's what I did. Sometimes the means meet the ends, but it is a beautiful teapot and a beautiful cup because I love apple blossoms and cherry blossoms. They are my favorite. More apple blossoms than cherry blossoms. They're very, very similar. But I do prefer an apple blossom over cherry blossom. But I think that's just because apples are my favorite fruit. A Granny Smith apple is like my favorite fruit. So I think that's why I prefer those. Well, let's dive into how has this week been. Work has gotten better. They are figuring some of the bugs out with the program. So it's getting more streamlined. And then starting this week, we have one of our part-timers is coming back full-time. So that should also help. And then last week, I had a day where I got 20 minutes of reading in towards the end of the day because we got everything done, which was fantastic. And then the very next day was shaping up to be another easy day. But then my computer locked me out. Swear the password is right. And there's no tech support. So tomorrow I get to go to work and try my password as I know it, see if it'll let me in. Most likely it will not. And then I have to spend the morning on the phone with tech support getting that squared away. I am a person who gets locked out regularly, even using the proper passwords. It happens all the time. It just happens all the time. It happens in my personal life. It happened at Disney. It happens at work. This time it was the computer that locked me out instead of the program. So usually the program is the one that kicks me out. And I'm like, I literally just put this down. And I know that you're not supposed to write your passwords down. I do. I don't write where they are and what that their passwords, but I do keep a record and I'll make some kind of annotation to know which one is which because I do have access to lots of different programs and I do try to keep my passwords different for each one, which is what you're supposed to for safety purposes. They're all similar-ish. They all have a theme, I guess would be a good way to say it. But it still locked me out. So I got to go home early, which was not the best thing in the world because I would have preferred the hours. But it happens. I mean, I'm not upset. So that is work stuff. Super quick and easy. Coaching stuff, school stuff. So I finished the first part of the program. There's a total of 4 classes that I have to take. Number 1 is done. I'm enrolled in number 2 and number 3 currently. It's going well. This week I feel like with the next class, there's 4 chapters in it. There's more practical experience, and I haven't gotten to that point. Hopefully I will get there later this week, but I'm going to try and complete this next class in 1 month, which would get me done by the end. I'd basically be done around the 1st of April. And my current class that I'm in is going to be done around the middle of May. So if I could get this class done in a month and the next class done in a month, I will have completed the whole program in like 3.5 months, which is really, really good. They say the average person gets through the program in 4 to 6 months. So I'm on pace with that, which is good to know. I know I could have taken longer on certain things, but I am eager to get started, especially since I was reading today in a book we're going to talk about. This book, and it told me about another certification that I should try for. That next certification is going to be harder. There's 3 different paths, and a lot of it has to do on the coaching hours that you actually get before you can get to the highest level. So I think they have like an associate's, then they have a practitioner, and then they have a master coach level. To get to the master coach level certification, you have to have like 2,500 hours. It's going to take me quite some time to get there. And I won't even start working on that until after I'm board certified. So I don't need to like stress. I just need to keep good records of how many hours that I have, which is fine. And then I can do that. It's called the International Coaching Federation. And the whole reason for pursuing these certifications outside of the program that I chose, because let's face it, anytime you do any type of coaching program, they certify you within that program. It's great. Technically, you can be a coach without any certification. Does that mean that you're going to necessarily be a great coach? Not necessarily. You could be. But for me and who I am and what I envision for myself, I'm a person who likes to be held to certain standards. And I think that is part of why I liked psychology, because there's an ethical standard. There's standards on how to practice and standards on how to operate and things like that. Works very well for me. So I am going for the board certification. Not only that, and then eventually the International Coaching Federation. It gives confidence to whoever you are working with. It's not just names, letters behind your name or anything like that, which honestly, you don't really care about. But what I do care about is that people know that I have put in the work, the effort, and the time that it takes to achieve all these certifications, which once I get them, they do give a sense of like, hey, I can trust this person, things like that. So that's why I'm going for those. Not only that, it gives me a lot of opportunities if I want to not operate my own business, which definitely still leaning towards operating my own business, spending lots of time thinking about how I want my program to look like, who I want my clientele to be, and things like that. I have some ideas. I also need to come up with a business name. I have several ideas floating through my head, and I cannot decide on any of them right now. I thought I had it, and then I got more ideas. So we'll see. If you have suggestions, let me know down below. I'm always open to suggestions. My one requirement is I do want it to have either joyful or journey in it. If we can figure out how to get them both in there, that'd be great. But yeah, I do want it to have a play on joyful or journey for sure. I just haven't figured out which one was more important. I'm still working through that and thinking through that, but we'll get there. So yeah, school is going well. I am going to try something new this week. I'm going to try, sorry, I'm pouring more tea. Putting what I'm learning in practice into my own life, because that's what you should do, right? And the food part, not an issue. I've got that going. I've got that figured out. What I don't have figured out is the stress part. And what I am finding as I am learning more, as I'm investigating more, as I'm self-reflecting more, is that stress, even though it is my main problem, it's threefold. Stress is handled and reduced by food, sleep, and exercise. And as well as like relaxation things, being creative, getting out and play. There's a lot of things that can reduce your stress. So I need to start working on it. So I am going to start sharing what my goals are and what my successes are from the previous week, each and every week. I'm not going to go into a great detail about them, but I will talk about them a little bit so you guys know what I am actually working on. Last week, we tried something different. And it was two things that kind of went together. And I knew that I wanted to focus on sleep. Sleep has been tough lately. I have an inkling of what could be affecting that other than stress. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. But we lowered our air conditioning to about 65 degrees at night. I don't know if that's helping me sleep better or not, because I am noticing that I'm cold, so I cover up and I bundle up just in our regular blankets. It's the blankets that's on the bed all year. They're not super heavy or anything like that. I go from cold to hot to cold to hot to cold to hot. And I'm like, so I'm taking into consideration that I am 46, almost 47. I am definitely in the perimenopause stage of my life. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Seeing that they say average age of menopause is 51, I'm closing into that. Could be a little more, could be a little less. But anyway, lowering the temperature has helped me discover that I run more hot and cold than I thought. Because before we would keep the house at about 76, 74, 76, something like that. Which works. But half the time I wasn't sleeping with a blanket on. So I didn't notice it as much because I was just pretty much either hot or comfortable. Now I'm kind of going hot, cold, comfortable, because I'm putting the blankets on and off all night long. It's an issue that needs to be addressed because I'm tired of waking up several times a night. So I'm thankful for that. But the other thing that I did last week, and it is helping, and I have stuck to it, for the most part, within like 15, 20 minutes, I have set my alarm to go to bed at 9 p.m. And I set my alarm to wake up with a very natural sound at 6 a.m., 7 days a week. Because I know to get the best quality sleep, it needs to be consistent no matter what. So 9 o'clock is a lot earlier than I would normally go to bed. I was trying to go between 10 and 6, and it really was. I was working on that without saying anything for a few weeks, and that felt okay. But I started noticing with my ring that I was getting a lot of times like 5.5, 6.5, maybe 7 hours of sleep. And I'm like, okay, so if my goal is to get 8 hours of sleep total, I need to go to bed earlier. And I may have to adjust it even further. I'm not in the position where I want to adjust the time further. I want to stay consistent with the 9 to 6. It's what works well. It allows me to feel like I have some downtime in the evening, and I start my wind down process typically around 8 o'clock. And it's sitting in the bed. I usually, these lights are off. I have the one over here will have the lights on. I'll turn the big light off. I might turn on the light by my bed. And I'm reading a book. And the only reason if the light's on by the bed is if I'm physically reading a book. If I'm reading it on my Kindle, I turn them all off. And this is a paperwhite, so there's very, very, very limited blue light on it. But I am trying to read more actual paper books and have less light and more wind down time. And that seems to be helping because, like I said, I've been very consistent with it for a week. So this week, keeping on with the sleep. Like I said, a couple days, I got to bed around 9:15, 9:20. Last night was a big day. It was a big day. And I think I was in bed by 9:30, which wasn't bad. It was probably closer to 9:20, if I'm being honest. And that's not getting home until like 8:30. Like, I ran hard yesterday and I can feel it because I did 18,000 steps and I feel tired today because I did a lot more movement than I normally do. But that sets me up for my next goal that I want to work on this week, which is ultimately going to help with stress. And that is intentional daily movement most days of the week. My goal is 5. Yesterday counts on Sunday because it's Monday when I'm filming this Tea Tuesday. I moved my body all day long. I was outside all day long. I got lots of movement, and you know what? I had fun. We didn't ride any rides, nothing like that. I did a what I'm eating in a day video that will be out when you see this. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It'll describe a little bit about my day. And it was fantastic. I felt rejuvenated, refreshed because I got out of the go. It's all work, all school, all work, all school, very little downtime. So yes, I have got to do more time out to help bring my stress levels down. I need to move more. I need to work on my strength building goals and things like that. So that is what I'm doing. Today, I'm giving myself the pass on intentional daily movement. Other than I'm trying not to sit super long. I did take a nap because my body told me I needed a nap. My brain told me I needed a nap, but I'm trying to move more around the house. But as far as having energy to actually go out for a walk or do any strength training or do anything super intentional, I don't have the energy today. Yesterday took it. So that's why my goal is 5 days. If I can get 3, I will be super, super, super happy. Tomorrow, I don't start work till 10. I have a live stream for this at 7 a.m. I don't have to leave my house till 9:30 if I don't get coffee. And I might not get coffee tomorrow. We'll see. I'll decide in the morning. But anyway, that gives me from 7 to 8 o'clock where I could do a strength training workout. So I am going to do that tomorrow. Wednesday, I have live class. And I think I could manage a walk after that, before I do dinner. I'll go for a walk. Not super long, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Gonna take Ghost right out by the apartments and just get it done. So I've got 2 days planned, which would give me 3 days. And then I will look at my schedule as it gets closer to see where I can put that intentional movement in. And my focus is not huge movement at this point. It's just little consistent movements. And I'm going to start working on my push-ups, planks, squats. I want to work more on my core, but I'm going to start with push-ups, planks, and squats because I think I can manage that. I might throw some lunges in there. I might do some other exercises as I get proficient in working on those and consistent on working on those small movements. Once I get those small movements down regularly, I'll expand. And I want to get to the point where I can do sprinting, but I'm not there yet. I know I need to get there, but I'm not there yet, and that's okay. That's a future goal. Now, why is this all important to me? Because as I've been learning this week, one of my main struggles that I have had has come to light. And I've been working on it, but I'm not working on it enough. I still have a lot of work to do. It's diet mentality. I still possess a diet mentality. As long as I possess a diet mentality, it's going to create extra stress and extra pressure to be a certain way, look a certain way, perform a certain way, and things like that. I'm trying to fit into this little box of what society says is health. And while that little box, let's face it, is pretty accurate when it comes to managing health, for me, this is the most important part. I've got to manage that. So I consider myself keto, and that's fine. But I'm also considering taking a label off of it, because the more I think about it, the more I realize that Dr. Berry's phrase, proper human diet, is correct. And it's a spectrum. There are many different ways that you can eat along the spectrum. You have low carb, you have primal, you have paleo, you have carnivore, you have ketovore, you have keto. They're all on that spectrum. And one thing I realized about me is I fluctuate along that spectrum, depending on what the season is, how I'm feeling, what my desires are, things like that. So while I think there needs to be structure to my eating plan, and there is, and I'm mostly going to live in the keto realm, and I'm mostly going to live in the carnivore realm, depending on the time of year, because in the spring I eat more vegetables. In the summer I eat more vegetables. I tend to eat more chicken and seafood in the spring and the summer. I tend to eat more beef and things like that, and heavier meats in the winter. And I tend to be more carnivore in the winter. And that's okay. That's the spectrum that works for me. So I'm not necessarily going to pigeonhole myself into that, even though I tend to predominantly be keto. What really triggered me into this line of thinking was a phrase that I heard in my coaching program. And it just really made me stop and made me think on how much diet mentality is still ruling in my life. Keto is you can say can be strict, because it's like, this should be your set of macros. You need to have at least 75% of your calories needs to be fat. You need to be staying under 20 carbs. You need to have moderate protein, and it gets macros attached to it. Those are not wrong things, but they're just numbers. And a lot of time, and I see it in all of the communities that I participated in, there's a lot of emphasis on tracking and just having your macros done. I'm also learning that health coaches cannot do macros in most states. There are exceptions. I'm not going to go into it. It's not important. But it's not something that, even if Florida allowed me, it wasn't going to be something that I offered. And I decided that before I even heard the phrase that counting macros is attributed to fad dieting. I've done all the fad diets. I've done so much dieting my entire life. And I need to step away from that. And I need to step away from that mentality. And I need to step away from that pressure that puts on me. And I just need to learn to be healthy. Yes, that includes my food, which I am doing very well with. I usually don't have to worry about my food journey. It's on par. At this point in the game, being almost 3 years in, food's on par. My exercise and my stress management, my sleep, not so much. Sleep was not really a problem until recently. I know stress plays into that and things like that. But so I am definitely going to be working on not using like terminology and things like that for my benefit. You can use whatever terminology you want to use. But for me, I'm not going to use it unless it's pertinent to what I'm actually talking about. But yeah, so let me ignore this phone call. All right. So yeah, I'm going to work hard on getting over the diet mentality. The other goal that I'm going to work on this week is taking vitamin D. I strongly suspect my vitamin D is gone. Especially because I'm not working outside. I'm not walking outside as much as I was doing. I'm just not out in the sun. And being out in the sun is going to be my preferred method, but I don't have the schedule for that. So I need to supplement. And what has triggered that for me is sleep has not been great, which can be affected by that. I have had periods of depressed mood. I'm not going to say depression, but lower moods. I have had more intrusive thoughts and things like that. And I'm like, what's going on? Food's on par. Everything else is on par. It leads me to believe that it's vitamin D. And I've been here before, and I know that when my vitamin D bottoms out, these are the symptoms that I feel. So without doing a blood test, which I could go totally do to be a definitive answer, is it truly vitamin D? I'm just going to start objectively, I think is the right word, addressing the symptoms. So lower energy, things like that. So I'm going to start taking 20,000 units of vitamin D a day. That's going to be my goal. Hopefully I will get most days. I am notorious for not remembering to swallow medications or supplements. If I have to swallow a supplement, I ain't going to remember. I loved Primal Queen. I thought it was fantastic. I honestly quit because I don't remember to take it. And I was spending money on it and not remembering to take it consistently enough. So for me, I chose not to do it. Could I bring it back at some other point? Maybe. I might get there to the point where I can reap the benefits by taking it, but I'm not reaping any benefits if I'm not taking it. So my goal is to get my vitamin D in and supplement at a level that is still safe without going too far. Preferred method of vitamin D for me is definitely going to be getting out in the sun. That is the recommended way to get your vitamin D. I was watching a TikTok and they talked about vitamin D being like 20,000 units is maybe like 40 minutes out in the sun. And I was like, really? It's not that much. So yeah, this week, keep up going to bed at 9, waking up at 6. Daily intentional movement most days of the week, and remembering to take my vitamin D. So that's my goals. Okay. I think we're going to do knitting and then we're going to wrap up with books because there's a lot of book stuff. But anyway, I do have some progress on my sweater and I made some choices on my sweater that we'll talk about now. Let me just get it organized enough. So I was sitting down trying to do color work while listening to my program and realized I don't have the brain capacity right now for doing color work. So I decided I still want a sweater. I still want to be knitting. I still want that creative, relaxing, repetitive motion was the important part for the project for me. And I still didn't like that you could see the two different dialettes, and you can really see it now where that line is from the two different dialettes. And it was going to bother me. And I knew if I put the color work in, I couldn't dye it. So I decided, take the color work out, knit the sweater. Enjoy the process of knitting the sweater. I don't have to think. It's just knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Just remember to throw in a button. It's a pretty mindless project, which is exactly what I need. And then I'm going to dye it. When I'm done, I'm going to dye it blue. As dark a blue as I can. I want a navy blue sweater. I don't know if I'll achieve navy blue, but I'm dyeing it blue. So I was probably about I had just a couple inches under the sleeve. So I accomplished quite a bit of knitting, listening to my live classes, listening to my videos and audio sections. And I only have 4 more inches to go on the body before I do the end of the body. And then I can move on to the sleeves. I haven't decided yet if I'm just going to stick with the short sleeves that this sweater is now loosely based on, or if I'm going to go ahead and knit full sleeves. I'll decide when I get to the sleeves. Honestly, I will probably decide when I get to the first sleeve, because if I decide on long sleeves, I might get halfway through the sleeve and say I'm done, which is totally fine too. But yes, progress on knitting. Hopefully in the next few weeks, I will actually have the sweater done. So I'm excited because that means that I will knit a sweater in just a couple of months. Plus, it's a goal that aligns with my health. It also aligns with the fact that I want to knit for me in the size that I am. Because for me, many years, I was like, I am not knitting for myself beyond socks or scarves, because I don't want to spend the money. I'm always trying to lose weight, and I never lose weight, and therefore I never knit myself anything. And this has been a really factor since I started knitting, and I have been knitting 15, 16 years, something around that time. I have knit myself a few sweaters in the past, but honestly, a lot of them get ripped out. I think I have, in like 15 years, I think I have knit myself maybe 5 or 6 sweaters. I have two hanging in the closet, 3 hanging in the closet. It might be closer to 10, but I think 5 or 6 is probably accurate. It's been a long time. So yes, I'm working on loving myself in the size that I am, with the expression of how I like to express that in my knitted clothing. Books. Sorry, I have nowhere to put my tea, so it's sitting on the carpet. So I have to set it down very slowly so that I can not spill it. All right, what I'm currently reading. This book is officially on pause. Probably I'll try to figure it out tomorrow. I was doing a tandem read, listening and reading, and then I'm like, okay, just listen to it. You can listen to it in the car. And then for some reason, it got left on. I don't know how it got left on, but it got left on. And I ended up, I want to say when I stopped listening, I was around page 72. So I was in like chapter 13 or 14. And I didn't listen very far, and I ended up in chapter 30. I am not in chapter 30. So now I kind of have to go through the book and see where I last remember and see if I can get close to where I was. And I just haven't done it. So it's kind of on pause. Yeah, kind of on pause. I'll get through it. Really enjoy it still. Great book. Then let me pull up this one. This one I want to just kind of power through. I am still working on Forbidden Lust, and I'm about 50% of the way through. And I'm reading that on my Kindle. It's by Missy Walker. Kind of losing interest in the book. The first one held me really well. This one, not as much. Still okay. It's still okay. I'm going to finish the book. It's still pretty spicy, which is fine. But yeah. And then I really want to be reading this book, and I am not very far, but this is our book club book. I am 25 pages in. It's fantastic already. I laughed 3 times before I was even out of the first chapter. The main girl, she could be me. She could be me. And that makes me love her. So I really do want to be doing this book. Speaking of book club, I'm still researching how we're going to do our meeting at the end of the month. It's still either going to be either a Zoom call or a Google Hangout. So if you want that information to join us on that, please join the Facebook group. It's going to be linked down below. That's where I will put that link. But it also brings me to the point of, I said that March was going to be a personal development type book, or April, excuse me. I don't want to do that because I want book club to be fun and light and all that kind of stuff. I already read so much for personal development and education type purposes and working on things for my coaching program. I want book club to be something it can be light and I can enjoy and things like that. So for now, book club is going to be novels. So let me know, do you have any suggestions for what you would like our April book to be? Now's a good time to start deciding that. Do you want me to go through my library of mostly unread books and pick something? Let me know your favorite genre. I might have something in that. And then we will start voting on a book, probably for sure about 2 weeks before, I think. So around the 15th of the month, we will start launching the voting process and figure out what we're going to read for April. So I would love your thoughts on that. And now I have 2 personal developments. One, I've already started on. The other one, I'm starting on tonight because it's going to be pertinent to my lessons. But this is a book. It's called Coaching Psychology Manual. This is put on by Wellness Coaches, which Wellness Coaches is one of the coaching programs that leads into the National Board certification stuff. I didn't choose to go to this school, which is fine. I chose what I felt was going to be the best level of education, one that was going to be approved. But this manual got recommended as a good resource for studying for the boards. So I went ahead and got it. And I've gone through chapter 1, and it's right in line with everything that I'm learning, which is fantastic. It means that I've picked a good program, which I knew that. So I'm working on this, trying to get through like 1 chapter a day, sorta. Chapter 1 was broken into 3 parts, so I read a part a day. Chapter 2 is on the next one, and I think that there's, how many chapters in here? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 12. There's 12. So I'm just going to keep working through this one. I need to start working on some of the other coaching books that I have, just because it's building information, it's reiterating skills and things like that. But I did my live class today, and we have a drill that we have to do this week, which is 20 questions. So we're going to do our coaching sessions, and our goal is to ask 20 questions, which kind of is a fantastic one. It's a fantastic one. One, it gets you keeping you in the moment, because you also need to learn to do open-ended questions and things like that. I'm pretty decent with that skill based on mentoring programs that I've done. I was a mentor in high school, and I also did mentoring and intake and stuff like that. I was a client advocate, which is similar-ish to coaching. So I have some experience there. But I need to start on it and start going through this book. It's called Coaching Questions, a coach's guide to asking powerful questions. And one thing that I've really realized, but I knew this already, and it's what draws me into being a coach, is you never stop learning. And I'm a person who never wants to stop learning, and there's always room for improvement. So I picked the right career path. Okay, books. I'm trying to get down to the non-fun books. How many books do I got? I have 8 books. And I still have a couple more that I want to get, but they're all personal, like, development ones. So this book just released, and I know it's one that I'm going to enjoy. I will probably get through it here really soon. It's a little book, but I'm excited to read it. It is called The Road to Metabolic Health, and it's by Doug Reynolds. And he is a master health coach, I believe. It's got quotes on the back from Dr. Cywis and Brian Linskis and stuff like that. So I'm super excited to delve into this book and read that. Then the other one that this book, and I think, what's the name of it? I can't remember. It's about setting habits and things like that. It's really well known, but this one gets mentioned with this book, that other book, which I can't remember, which is really driving me crazy because I know the name of it. But anyway, this one is about micro changes, and that's kind of sort of how I want to take my approach with working on myself, is in micro changes, in small little snippets that can lead to bigger goals. So I got Tiny Habits by Dr. B.J. Fogg. So eventually I will get to this book read as well. Now, fun books. 6 books released last week. 6 books on my list released last week. I got 6 books. Okay. 6 books. I have another one by this author. It's put away. I don't know where it is. Anyway, so I got it because it sounds interesting. The first one I got is Say It's Forever by A.L. Jackson. And this is a close proximity single parent romance. It says Jude Lawson found her stranded in the rain, broke down in a deserted neighborhood by her piece of crap car. Salem wasn't looking for a hero, definitely not one who looks like him. An obscenely hot mountain man who screams danger, but she had little choice other than climbing onto the back of his bike. And that's all I'm going to read at the back because that sold me. Then this next book is dark romance. Again, I like dark romance. This one is a mafia one, and I haven't done a whole lot of mafia romances. I know that they're popular. I see them come across my feed. This one was indie published, and it came out as a traditional release. So I figured I'd give it a try. And it's the first book in a series. It is called Distance, Beneath the Mask. So it's about 2 characters, Keller and Sienna. So yeah, interesting to say the least. Then I have read a couple of her books and I'm liking them, and I have several of her books at this point. But Katie Robert came out with 2 new books. They're in one book, which is really weird. And I'll show you how they did it in just a second. Let me get to a place where I can actually show that. Okay. So depending on how you want to read it, it depends on how it goes. So the first book is called Wicked Pursuit. It is written this way. The second book is called, and I'm going to take, well, that is a sticker. It is going to come off eventually. This one is called Divine Intervention. They are in both the series, and this one is written the other way and upside down. So, but it actually works because you're still reading it like a normal book for each book. So I thought that was very, very creative on how they did that. So technically it's kind of sort of like 7 books that I got, but yeah, I got that one. This next one I bought because it's the next book in the series. But I'm going to be honest, this one's way out of my comfort zone. Way out of my comfort zone. Doesn't mean that it's going to be bad. Doesn't mean that it could, I might give it a try. I might not. It might not be a book for me, and that's perfectly okay with me. It's called God of Fury. So it's in the next series of the Legacy of God series by Rena Kent. Everybody loves this series, which is why I still haven't read book 1, but it's a very popular series, so I chose to grab the books. But that one, it's between 2 guys. Might not be my thing on what I like to read. Nothing wrong with it, but just not my style. And actually, so this next book is kind of book 7 because the 2 books were in the one. And so I just picked it up because it sounded really funny. It's called Book Boyfriend. And it says, devoted fangirl meets hesitant fanboy in the swoony contemporary love letter to readers who adore fantasy worlds. And it says, Jennifer Walsh Worth lives to escape into a world of her favorite romantasy series. And it lists it, where the romance is sweeping and the men are brave, chivalrous, and winged. Newly single and craving connection, she travels to an immersive fan experience celebrating all things Ithilium, only to see the last face she expected. Scott Daniels, her work nemesis, whose disinterest in Jennifer's favorite series and standoffishness have made their publishing jobs like a feuding fae court. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. So that sounds fun. And in this one, I knew nothing about the book other than I saw that it was coming out, and it was known for being extremely spicy. So I was interested and I grabbed it. I don't know if I'll get through it, but we'll see. It's called Kiss of the Basilisk. I'm not going to go into much detail on that one because, again, very spicy description. The last thing I want to show is yesterday I had a fun experience and I went and I built another lightsaber. So I have, this one I think makes 8 different lightsabers that I own. And of course I worked at Sabi's and they have 4 different styles. Last time in the first generation, I chose Elemental, but it was a struggle between Elemental and Protection. This time around, I knew I just wanted Protection. I liked this Protection better. And it's really, really meaningful. So if you want to see me build this and see the kind words that I got from one of my favorite Kimbeis, go watch the What I Eat in a Day at Disney video. So yeah, I did this yesterday. It's blue. Love it. So pretty. It definitely represents me in so many different ways. So yeah, love it. Love it, love it, love it. It was, I should not have spent the money, but it was worth it. So yeah, all right. Well, that's pretty much all I have this week. I don't think there's going to be any book buying next week because I got a saber. And I got a teacup. I don't think there's any books coming out that I must add to my collection. I think there might be one, but it can wait another week. It's fine. It's not a problem. So let's see. We'll make that goal number 3. Not to buy any books this week. See if I can do it. So far, so good. All right. Well, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that bell notification so that every time I upload a new video that talks about the passions in my life, whether that be my health or my books, you will be alerted to it. Have a wonderful and joyful day. Bye for now.